there, ref. That's, he got the ball.
Yes, everybody. How are we? Good to see you all. We will be doing plenty of streams today. It's going to be a jam-packed schedule for the next hour and a half or two. And also there's going to be a special surprise in it for all of you lovely people. By the way, everybody, we are going to be doing, I'm on the wrong microphone. A little bit better. Maybe that sounds a little better. Everybody, we will be doing this stream, which is, kind of, I'd say as much as we'll, give our player ratings, we'll give our opinions, this doesn't have as much of the glamour as, what we'll be doing afterwards. Over on BigUp, we'll be doing a video highlight breakdown. I think Dave's only been around for just one of them. We have been doing a few of them now, so it's going to be lots of fun. Hopefully you can join us for it. If you have been thinking about joining it, here's a great day to do so, because just afterwards, we will be doing a stream for the Man City Liverpool game. And BigUp is giving the chance for anybody that's a part of our community as well as other people's communities on that platform, chance to win $500, €500 if you are just participating in the stream. I think just longer than 5 to 10 minutes or something like that. So usually plenty of you guys are in here for around that time. So just sort of treat it like you normally would with a live stream. Just come on, hang out, chat about Spurs, chat about the game in front of you, and you potentially get the chance to win £500. So there you are, everybody. And in this stream, we'll be doing the player ratings, tactical breakdown, and then we'll be doing the video highlights afterwards. So plenty of stuff to get through. And Dave, I say we take it away. Jam-packed schedule.
Yeah, no, look, very busy schedule. Like I said, or like Jack was saying, make sure you do get over today. I think it's actually, you got to be in there for longer than 20 minutes on the watch along that we're doing with Liverpool versus Man City. So if you want to be in with a chance, so put your name within the chance of potentially winning £500. Make sure you follow the instructions that Jack has told you today. It could be beneficial for absolutely anybody that wins it. But look, what we're going to do here is we're going to start here, give our player ratings. And then I do advise you to follow us over to BigUp for the video analysis. They've got this format over there where they can give us all the clips to work with. We can break them down, go through tactics and stuff like that from the videos and images. So it's a fun-packed day today. So hopefully you join us all the way throughout it.
And here's the link pinned at the top of the chat to join the tactical breakdown. And then just immediately afterwards, we'll be doing the Man City Liverpool game. So we're not going to be wasting any time. It will be straight after another. This stream, then the other, then the one right after. So get ready, everybody. We hope to see you there for it. And if you are looking for the link, it's going to be in the description of this video, both for the tactical breakdown, the video highlight breakdown, but then also the Liverpool game. Both links are in the description. The link for the stream afterwards is pinned at the top of the chat. Good to see MV Joker Davis, Invert the Ting, Blissy is in the house, JB Cleveland, Potty Villa, good to see you all. And then Dermatron celebrating 36 months, 3 years. Saying big up, guys. Great win yesterday. And the match for 7, go up Spurs, get that Europa League for Tequila. Let's give him his wish for a Spurs Cup win. Is he starting to happy clap then, Dermatron? Is he wanting, a Europa League win? He's got to maintain that confidence.
He's not well, Tequila.
It's everything's passing through. Everything's under the weather at the moment. It seems like Dermo. Best of health to him. Hopefully he can recover quickly. Hopefully it's nothing too serious or too strong or anything. Dermo, and hopefully you've recovered. Since your kind of recent kind of health. Or at least kind of sickness and flu and everything. So big up to you, Dermo. Thanks for 3 years of love and support, sir. And let's get this going here, everybody. We are going to start off first. I think do we have. Yeah, we're going to start first with just sort of the average positions of the players here. The last time I thought it was actually a very lovely sort of symmetrical shape that Spurs had. This time, not so much. It's actually a bit more kind of inverting from the likes of Jed Spence, to begin the game with. He's definitely really tucked far inside there. Kulusevski, maybe again, has that tendency to sort of shade towards Brendan Johnson's side, either to offer a bit of support, but also we know he's just a left-footed player who can drift over there and then cut back in, onto his left. If need be. Matisse Tell probably around where you would expect him. I think Bentancur pretty much around where you would expect him, and to a degree Lucas Bergvall as well. But maybe the only significant point would be, again, just that cluster that you often get when you see the likes of the fullback inverting. And then when Brendan Johnson ever seems to be on the pitch for whatever reason that might be, perhaps it is like a personnel instruction whenever he is playing to have him sort of have players around him, because when it isn't Brendan Johnson out there, when it's, for example, Kulusevski, you get a bit more of a symmetrical shape about Spurs. But when Johnson's in there, you actually see a lot more players kind of tucked towards him. And then Sonny actually very, very, high up the pitch, maybe looking to get him behind. And I think that was something that Dave brought up in this game, was that he was looking to kind of stretch the back line of Ipswich more than he has in other games. Ipswich is kind of shape and formation, from or average positions from the last game. I think you can tell, well, like a lot of teams, they were probably just looking to try to hit the wide areas, try to hit the flanks. You're seeing a lot of guys on either side of the pitch, right? And pretty much very few in the middle.
4-4-2.
4-4-2, just trying to bomb the flanks, really. And you can see how much real estate they're actually willing to give up in the middle, because when they were trying to attack us, especially in the first 15 to 20 minutes, it was just bombing us down those sides there. And I think we were really struggling with it. Judd Spencer, I remember, was kind of nowhere to be found in the first 10 to 15. Archie Gray really struggled as well. I remember with Liam Delap and his runs. Hutchinson was causing us some problems as well. So that could probably be an explanation for what their position was, what their kind of tactic was. Yeah.
The only thing for me here, from a Tottenham perspective, Jack, is Jed Spence. He's too far inside. He doesn't need, that average position doesn't need to be there. He could hang out on the right-hand side a little bit more. And I think that's something that maybe does need to change in terms of, and I think at this point, seeing Jed Spence over there and being asked to do the same thing and still seeing some gaps there, I think at this point, you got to put it down to instructions, what they're being asked to do. And I just don't think it suits that side of the pitch. Yeah. So for me, that is something I would change. And again, with Sonny, that, like you pointed out, he was the outball. He was the one, put the ball in over the top, let him run onto it, which was different to what we've seen in weeks gone by, where we're constantly looking to get the ball into Sonny deep. This time, a lot of times, he didn't touch the ball deep. He just stayed there on the last shoulder, and look at the performance we got from him. It looked like the son of old.
Kilkenny Spurs, good to see you. Big up, Jack and Dave. Great result yesterday. Thanks to be great to see Ange able to rotate the players also onto Wednesday against City as ever. Greetings from Kilkenny, Ireland. Big up to you, sir. Thank you for all the support, my man.
Great county. Black Cats.
Dark Sun G saying Blues lost because their goalkeeper. LOL. Happy that Vicario is back. What's funny about that, Dark Sun G, is when I watched that goalkeeper, I was like, which of their 7 or 8 goalkeepers is that one? Because it seems like they've signed about 10 or 15 goalkeepers in the last 2, 3 or 4 years, Chelsea. So I was just confused which one this was, and I might have missed that transfer because they have so many goalkeepers that they've gone through in the last few years. It's pretty brilliant, and he actually looked all right until he made that big mistake, Dark Sun G, and boy, was that a howler. And it does feel good. Vicario, I'm not sure if we'll ever see anything like that from him. You don't want to jinx him, but I'm pretty confident, Vicario is not capable of something that ridiculous. But yeah, Dave, I mean, Chelsea and their many goalkeepers.
Yeah, look, in a way, we're sort of similar, though, right? We've got a lot of goalkeepers. We've signed a few ourselves. Vicario.
I guess in Chelsea's case, they signed a bunch of 10 million pound ones, and then they're just rotating like chips or something, or like, beers in the fridge. It seems like they just don't know which one to pick.
Yeah, well, look, I definitely don't think Sanchez is the answer. I think it's a position that might have to re-look at again. But, I think, again, it speaks to Vicario, right? That he is that steady Eddie. He is that good presence behind the back line, and it was something that needed to be done. Hugo Lloris's, impact was declining. He was on the decline. And bringing in Vicario, I think, is a very good goalkeeper. Me and you have said it time and time again. We think he's one of the world's best shot stoppers, or at least I do anyway.
Yeah.
Definitely one of the best in the Premier League, especially one-on-ones and stuff. I think, we are lucky with Vicario that we do have a very solid goalkeeper that we can rely on, Dark Sun G. Big yourself up, my man. And good to see you. I really appreciate the support. Big up, Adrian, as well. Good to see you. Hopefully you're keeping well. I also want to say a big up to Paddy Villick. Just quickly, says big up, lads. Great win yesterday. Boys look like trying to get up to speed. Roll on City on Wednesday. Good to see you. JBCLE, good morning, y'all. Come on, you Spurs. Good to see you also. And then Geoff Tottenham as well, all the way from Perth. Good to see you. Good evening, all. Hopefully you're keeping well, Geoff.
Absolute legend, Joff, and good to see you, Adrian, as well, and the Potty Villa and Dark Sun G. Hopefully, we get to see you later for the tactical video highlight breakdown. Seemed like you were there, for the majority of the time last time. So hopefully you enjoyed it, Dark Sun G, and hopefully you have time to join us later for that one, sir. Let's go over some of the stats here. Maybe try to make my Dave and I just a little bit. Doesn't help too much now, doesn't it? Let's just do it a little bit like this, just for a quick second, just for the stats here. 1.15 expected goals to 1.7. We had more expected goals on the day. Technically, according to SofaScore, they had actually bigger chances. I mean, in that first 10 to 15, one was saved off the line, one was off the post. A couple others from like Delap, Vicario was really scrambling for, and looked like they were just inches away from going in. I think Hutchinson had a decent effort at 1.2. They had 17 shots to our 10, but I believe we had a similar amount on target. I think we had 6 on target. I believe they might only had like 5. In terms of goalkeeper saves, Vicario was more busy. Same amount of corner kicks, fouls about the same. Of course, since we have plenty more possession, plenty more passes, and I think the rest of those are not nearly as interesting. So,
The one
Dave,
thing
no, oh yeah, go ahead.
One thing I would point out, Jack, is I don't like the fact that these teams are coming out with more shots than us. So I would argue, we've got much better attacking talent. Well, not much better, but, in terms of across the whole forward line, I think we've got better attacking talent than Ipswich, bar maybe Lee and the Lap. But the fact that these teams are creating more chances than us from open play, considering the amount of possession we dominate, it's still a huge problem here at Tottenham Hotspur, and we should be creating a lot more.
I mean, is that a reflection then of Spurs just turning it over in bad areas, maybe still kind of having that tendency to give the opposition, kind of a little bit of momentum back in the game? Because there always seems to be a period where we are kind of under the cosh for whatever reason, by the opposition team. Maybe they pick their own moments to play really intensely against us, to try to make life really difficult for us, to try to suffocate us in our own half. And maybe that's
I
what
just
we were
still think
struggling
we're
with.
not
The
good
first
enough
10 to
in possession.
15, they were all over us. So maybe that's what it had to do with.
Yeah, I just think, in terms of the back line, the midfield, I think they control the ball pretty well. But I think as soon as it goes to the forward line, we just don't use possession well enough in that front line. Like, don't get me wrong. I know people are going to say, sitting here saying, oh, it's harsh. We won 4-1. I get it. And I'm absolutely buzzing. I'm happy clapping just as much as the next person is. But the reality is, we should be creating more opportunities compared to the possession we have. And that's the next evolution we need to take if we really want to see the full effect of Ange ball. And that's because still in the front line, we're still relying on Son to be that guy. I know Brennan Johnson scored 2 yesterday, but what else did he contribute outside of that? What did Tell contribute? And it's a huge problem. So until we address that, we're never really going to kick this on to the next level, especially when a team like Ipswich Town are creating more chances than us.
And speaking of Brennan Johnson, let us know, everybody, while we're going through these player ratings, what you think of the fact that SofaScore gave him the highest one out of all of them. Leftover saying, our wingers don't do anything with the ball, so they pass back and then they lose it. I think maybe to say don't do anything was a bit of an exaggeration after I thought Sonny actually was kind of everything. I think Sonny was kind of doing the textbook stuff of what you're looking for, from your winger. Whereas with Brennan Johnson is kind of a bit of the opposite, where he's there at the right place at the right time to put away the chances. But apart from that, what chances did he really create for anybody else? What sort of moments did he really have that sort of led to a decent attack? It's kind of, he's the guy that just finishes moves off, in a way, almost plays no part in the actual buildup up until, the final, touch. And he's very, very good at that. But, that's the thing, with the wingers, is that some of them are far more progressive, far more positive, far more creative. And then I guess in Johnson's case, he is the goal scorer. He is the one that, finds himself at the right place at the right time. It's just, as Dave and I have said, is that really enough, considering? Because I think even if he were to have that style, he probably needs to be scoring plenty more goals, actually, if that's what you're only good at, really, at the end of the day. Because it's kind of like the poacher striker. The poacher striker, if all they're good at is just being a poacher, they kind of have to score on a regular basis then, in order for that to be sustainable, really. Because if you're not playing any part in the build-up. Darkson G saying, if Ipswich get relegated, I would buy Delap and Davies. I think you said this just yesterday, Dave.
Yeah, no, look, the Lap I'd be all over. I think a lot of the Premier League clubs or top clubs will be looking at someone like the Lap. He's young. He's still got 10 years ahead of him at Premier League level. Look what he's already doing, considering it's his first season in the Premier League. Usually you hear about players trying to acclimatise, needing time to adapt. This guy's already banged in 10 goals for Ipswich and given every centre-back he's come up against, an absolute tough day. He's a rare combination. He's big, he's strong, he's mobile, and he's fast. It's a rare combination, that. So I think a lot of teams will be looking at him and going in for him. So I think, if anything, we've got to try and wrap this one up early, or be clever how we're going to negotiate this one in terms of trying to pull him to Tottenham Hotspur. Leif Davies is another one I'd be looking at. Look, I would say there's a lot of other alternatives on the market at left back that you could go and pursue. But if you want to sort of get a cheap enough option and use that money to invest, the extra money to invest in a Mark Guetti or a right winger, which is badly needed, then Leif Davies wouldn't be a bad player to come in here whatsoever. And you know what? Continue on the Davies legacy. Why not?
Oh, did I interrupt?
No.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I thought that was hilarious that you said continue on the Davies legacy. And I'm also adding in the link, by the way, as people are piling in. I'm seeing more and more people come in. Pinned at the top of the chat is the link, by the way, to join our big upstream afterwards. We will be doing a video highlight breakdown, and I'm also just putting in the link here in case that makes things easier. And it's also in the description, so there's pretty much no excuses now at this point, everybody. We will be seeing you later for the video highlight breakdown. But then we have joining us Aussie Hotspur. Big up to you, Aussie Hotspur. Morning, guys. From what I've seen, it looks like we play too much for the perfect close-up goals. We don't take enough long-range shots to keep the goalkeeper on their toes. I think it's a bit of perhaps, the players, aren't thinking about, that sort of thing, and they should be, Aussie Hotspur. But do we really have, enough guys that can take those long range efforts? Sonny, we know, in the past, and vintage Sonny, very good at it. Kulusevski finally, has taken a shot from outside the box and it's gone in, but he's not necessarily been that player this season. Brennan Johnson, I know everybody, loves, that he scores the goals, but he's never really scored bangers now, isn't he? From like, 30, 40 yards out, or even just outside the penalty area. I can't even think of any goals that Johnson has had outside the penalty area. And I wouldn't say, Bentancur, even Bergvall, Madison to a degree, but even Madison, since coming to Spurs, hasn't really been banging him in from distance like he did with Leicester. So, Dave, I mean, kind of aren't really a plethora of guys that you can think of that are real long range, sort of shooters. I guess Pop Matasar loves. Yeah, you brought that up. He has no problem with it. But right, and there are no Sabazlais or anything in the team that really are like good sort of technicians in that department. It is a special skill. It is a special skill.
Look, it is a special skill, but like what you see with us, it's always very intricate, trying to score the perfect goal. And I've always said this: sometimes you just got to put the ball in the box. Sometimes you just got to take shots. Balls will ricochet, bounce your way. Sometimes you just got to do that. And for me, I don't believe you should just attack one way. A very good attack, you have players that can do everything. A player that can beat and bash people and hold up the ball, a player that can take on people, a player that can cut in and produce your threat from outside the box. Because at the end of the day, if you've got a threat and you're producing it consistently from outside the box, all of a sudden players have to come and close you down. What does that create? Gaps in space then for you to start playing your intricate football. So for me, it's about having a good mix across the front line. You're absolutely spot on, Mr. Hotspur. Big up Dark Zone G. Says our boat homegrown as well. As far as is Leif Davies not Canadian? I could be completely wrong, or maybe I'm just making that up. But
sounds like a Canadian name.
I thought he was. Let me have a look. I'll go search for you, Dark Zone G. But big up everybody. Big up Felix as well. Bob Bean Counter. Big up Jeffrey as well. The leftovers. Never anything left over in my presses anyway, that's for sure. Big up, Les Known as well. Great to see you as well. And then Bing Guy as well. Good to see you. And Dark Zone Jesus Bergvall's rating is quite low. Though I definitely agree with that. So what we'll do is I think we need to go through player ratings, don't we, Jack?
Yeah, we'll just take them one at a time.
And then player ratings, and then I'm going to find out the status of Leif Davies, because I could be telling you guys a complete lie.
Artist T, Dave, saying he's Scottish. Does that sound familiar? Dave, I think is going to confirm it. Maybe himself.
I don't doubt him, but you know me, Jack. I do like to do make sure I fact check myself.
Have to be informed, Dave. Vicario, let's go with him on the player rating, and then we'll kind of go through these others as well. Vicario, I thought another very, very solid display. I don't think he really did anything wrong. Can't recall any bad moments from him. Apart from that, though, I can't say that he pulled off any world-class saves, in this game. Maybe in the initial period, to kind of keep that ball off the line. He actually did really well. That first little scary bit of business and inside the first few minutes, he actually did pretty well to keep it out of the goal. But never mind, he's from Newcastle, says Artist D. Dave is right, to check his own.
He's English, Newcastle. I just checked. I was going to say, I've completely told you guys a fabricated lie. I don't know why.
I'm actually fine with the 7.1 that SofaScore has given Vicario. I think 7 is fine. Anybody disagree in the chat? Feel free to let me know.
7. You know what, Jack? Just quickly, I think reality is he didn't actually have too much to do. Bar that opening couple of minutes, the 3 chances to have. I think he produced 1 save within that. Outside of that, he wasn't largely tested. A lot of the back line actually dealt with a lot of it. And I think in possession, there was 1 or 2 passes out from the back as well earlier on that were a bit ropey. But overall, he didn't really have much to do. So I do think a 7 is probably a fair rating.
Yeah. Now on to Jed Spence. I think once again, Dave, close to a man of the match performance. You'd be welcome to give it to him. You could give it to somebody else, of course, but Jed Spence, I give something around like maybe an 8, from what I call. He had a great defensive, performance. I think after the first 10 to 15 minutes, I think he was kind of caught out, like you said, maybe with being either too far inverted or just something was going on with Ipswich where they really were targeting that right side. I just felt like, Archie Gray and Spence were kind of struggling a bit in the beginning. But then after that, Spence was brilliant on the right. And then once Udogie came off, played brilliantly on the left. You have to also give him credit for the fact that he is able to do that, play 2 different positions in one game like that and put in good performances. And of course, got his goal, and well-taken goal, well-deserved goal. I think he deserves like an 8 or something like that. I'm just not too sure if Jed Spence was my man of the match after this game?
I'll be honest, I don't think it was Jet Spence's best game compared to
Yeah.
the United game, the Liverpool game, etc. Look, also the goal did come down that side, when he was over that side. But again, how much is that down to instructions? But I do think once we got to grips with the game, when we started dominating possession, that's where Jed Spence really came into his own, actually. And he was constantly, even when he's inside sitting in the midfield and people are passing it to him on his inverted role, he's still popping that off to people one touch without even taking a touch, passing it off to people. I think he had a really good game in that regard. I think where he really picked up for me, again, was out a left back when we moved him out there. Again, defensively, they tried him. He absolutely bullied them all day long down that side. Didn't get any change out of him whatsoever. But then going forward, what I love about Jed Spence, Jack, is his footwork. When was the last time we've seen a player of his ability at fullback that can, in terms of he's got the dribbling of a winger. He close footwork, and you've seen that with the goal. He was able to do a bit of intricate play, I think, with Udebar, a bit of intricate play with Madison, and then ends up taking the goal himself. Absolutely brilliant. So for me, look, I would go with a 7.5. I think it's fair, but I don't think it was his best game.
Okay. Dave's for 7.5. Let me know if anyone's in between a 7.5 and an 8. I think that's probably where a lot of people are. He did, by the way, have the most successful take-ons and then also had some of the most progressive passes of the entire team in the last game. Archie Gray, Kevin Donzo. I think Kevin Donzo had the better performance between him and Archie Gray, Dave. Wouldn't you agree? But, I mean, Archie, I would probably give like a 6.5, maybe something in between a 6.5 and a 7. I think Danzo's the one who I'd lean more towards a 7 plus, for maybe a 7.5, with Danzo really. I just think he made brilliant recovery runs, really good sort of, physical defensive moments as well. And, I was actually really happy with his performance as it went on. In the first kind of initial stages, he looked a little shaky in possession, looked a little clunky, but like kind of in a lot of his performances, he sort of eases into the game actually quite, kind of smoothly to a degree. So
No,
I don't know. I thought Kevin Donzo 7.5, something like that.
Look, I'll start with Archie Gray just quickly. I think Archie Gray, I think you're right. I think, first, 15, 20 minutes, I think the lap caused them real problems, bullied them actually, for the first 15, 20 minutes, put them under a lot of pressure. I do think it's a game where Archie Gray grew into. But let's not forget it was him that played that ball over the top for Son, who got Brennan Johnson's first or second goal.
Brilliant pass.
So he sort of did grow into the game. Again, I think Archie Gray done well. I don't think it was his best game for Tottenham, but he done well. He grew into it. I think a 7 is fair enough. I think for me, Kevin Danso, I think absolutely brilliant on the day, Jack. Putting his body on the line, winning free kicks, clearing headers. It was almost him that took over that threat of the lap then to a certain degree. And also, I thought he was very good on the ball. You talk about, I like my centre-backs to be warriors. And that's exactly what Kevin Danso does. He gives me. And to be honest, he didn't really allow, I think, again, like I said, I think that the defenders, the centre-backs, the full-backs dealt with a lot. Vicario wasn't really tested too much. And a lot of that was down to Danso and his battling abilities. So for me, I would actually give him an 8, personally.
Yeah. And by the way, he had some of the most clearances, I think the most clearances of any player in the team. Destiny Udogie, something around a 7, I think is fair as well. I think he had an all right performance, but I don't think he was really, sensational. He had a couple of moments where I just thought he just needed to release the ball a bit sooner in this game. He had some good breakaways, some good runs down the flank, and he just kind of struggled to put in, that dangerous cross or that dangerous pass. I ended up holding on to it a bit too long. I just don't remember, though, him struggling that much defensively in this game. So I'd give Destiny Udogie around a 7. How do we feel about Destiny Udogie, everybody? Let us know in terms of your player rating. Dave, 7? Where do you stand on?
Yeah, I agree. 7 again. I don't think he put a foot wrong defensively, which, to be fair, is his primary duty. I think people forget that with fullbacks nowadays. But going forward, I also think he had some good link-up play with Son, some good dribbles down that left-hand side. So you got to remember, it's his first game back from injury. I think he played 56. Was it 55, 60 minutes? Not a bad return for him. I'll give him a 7. I don't think he done anything wrong.
Now, this feels like a crime. Bergvall, 6.7 from SofaScore. That feels harsh. Bergvall, I think 7.5 at least. 7.5 at least. Really, really solid. Was all over the pitch. He's kind of, I think you brought this up, which I think is very apt, very correct, about how he's kind of doing a bit of that Pop Matasar sort of pressing at times, when someone
Yeah.
maybe isn't willing to, maybe really put pressure on in an intense type of manner. Because that's what Sar does, kind of just be sprinting, really at players and really forcing them into a mistake. And I think Bergvall does something similar, really works his tail off in possession, very, very quality, very smooth. And he's just getting more and more comfortable. And I think also kind of the rawness and maybe some of the mistakes that we've seen from him every now and again just don't seem to be coming through as much, in games. So Lucas Bergvall, Dave, 7.5 from me.
To be honest with you, I think he was probably our best midfielder on the day, to be quite frank. I think
better than
you look at
Kulu and better than Bentancur, you think?
Yeah, I think you look at the defensive work rate. I think you go back and watch the game for the full 90 minutes. I think it's one of them midfield performances that sort of goes underrated. The defensive side of the game, he battled hard, battled for possession, battled to turn things over. I thought he done very well in that regard. Showed all energy going on the press, but also I think his use of the ball was very good yesterday. Actually, I don't think he's got enough credit for that. I actually don't really remember him giving away the ball, any sloppy passes or anything like that. I think at one stage, one guy went to absolutely clean him out, and he done some sort of like Zidane move or Cruyff move. It was absolutely unbelievable. And I remember also there was one move that he done practically on his own. Didn't he pick up that ball, square it to Kulu squared it to Johnson. Johnson, I think was a great block to deny him from his hat trick. Actually, that all came from good work from Bergvall down that left-hand side of the midfield. So for me, I actually think he was our best midfielder on the day. And again, I'd go and give him an 8. I don't know who was being in charge of SofaScore, but they weren't watching the same game as me. I can tell you that.
Dave and I are trying to get in on the SofaScore headquarters, give them a lesson.
That's ridiculous. It's crime, actually.
Just earlier, by the way, everybody, it looks like Destiny Udogie had some of the most blocks in the team, in case you wanted to give Destiny Udogie a bit more credit on his defensive duties. I think Dave did bring that up. He seemed pretty solid. Bentancur, 7 for me seems apt, seems fine. I didn't think it was my favorite Bentancur performance. I also don't think he makes many mistakes in the midfield either. I think he had 1 or 2 kind of bad giveaways, like a few people did in that first half when we were kind of put under the pressure by Ipswich. But then kind of after, again, that initial really tough period, I think he, like a lot of guys, sort of settled into the game and grew a lot more into it. But Bentancur, he doesn't make the same high-profile mistakes as Bissouma. So we'll probably just, give him lots of 7s, throughout the season. He's probably more of a 7/8 type of player than Bissouma is. He's not all over the map player rating-wise.
I think this is one of the quieter performances from Bentancur, to be quite frank, Jack. I think he struggled to get into the game initially, the first 15, 20 minutes, a couple of loose passes, not as strong or as combative as we usually see him. And I think, don't get me wrong, again, he's another one that grew into the game, he started getting involved a little bit more, but I don't think he done anything outstanding. So for me, I think a 7.
And then Kulusevski, Dave, take it away. I mean, your boy, he scored a great goal, but he felt like Bergvall was just a little bit better. So what would be your player rating then?
Yeah, I think Bergvall had overall more of an impact in terms of both sides of the game. When it came to Kulusevski, I think, look, on another day, we could be talking about if Johnson buries that goal and the fullback doesn't get across, he's assisted, so he comes out with a goal and assist. Which is what you want from someone like Dejan Kulusevski. But again, I don't think was his best game. I think largely uninvolved until a bit later on in the game, if you want me to be quite frank, Jack. I think, it was him that got onto the end of Scarlett's flick on again, showing to always be a willing runner. And he did show a lovely bit of quality there towards the end. But again, I don't think it was his best game overall. And I'd probably stick with a 7 for him too.
Okay. And then this is going to be a fun one. Brennan Johnson has been given the highest rating of any of the players. But I'll be honest, everybody, of course, I come with many biases against Brennan Johnson. He's not my favorite player in the team. I think just apart from the 2 great goals that he scored, I don't really remember anything else apart from that he actually really did in this game. And I will say this. There were a couple of times when I think he was also a bit guilty of not tracking back like he often can be. There were some moments
out actually off one of their chances. You were going ballistic.
Well, Leif Davis, I remember, just, sort of looked at Brennan Johnson and he seemed to get a clue that, this guy's not going to chase after me, if I actually make a real run, down the flank here. And he was right. Johnson didn't. And I think whoever it was either Hutchinson or Delap, because it felt like it was just them in the dangerous positions every time. And I think they just accidentally maybe looked him off, Leif Davis, because had they played him, he's practically clean through, and would have had a one-on-one with Vicario. So Johnson, again, like he's in the right place at the right time. Really good goal poacher, really good movement to be there. It's just in possession, what else did he actually do? And then out of possession, what did he actually do in this game? Because I don't think he worked nearly as hard as some of the other players did. So that's just me on Johnson. But again, like always, I'm not going to be, if you're a Johnson fanboy, I'm sorry. I'm not going to be, always putting it in maybe the best of terms, because I just sometimes get a bit frustrated by sort of his lack of involvement, except for just putting away, the final touches and finishes. And I even think the first goal, I know somebody have said, I think Sean brought this up. Oh, it's great movement from Johnson. I don't really think so. I think, it's kind of natural to sort of crash the back post, if you have like an inkling, if you have that idea. And also Sonny in the first goal, I think that's really Sonny's goal than it really is Johnson's. Johnson, right place, right time. But Sonny does all the work for me, in that first goal, as well as Archie Gray, like you brought up, Dave, to play that pass over the top. So for me, Johnson, I'd give like a 7.5 just because he did score 2 goals. Like I can't go lower than 7.5. That even seems harsh. But to give him the highest match rating just is absurd to me. It's absurd.
Look, I'm going to be consistent, right? I love Kulu, but I still said, what did he do? What did he contribute? Barry's goal and that ball to Brennan Johnson. I'm going to ask the same question to Brennan Johnson. What did he contribute? Barry putting home 2 goals. So I don't want anyone to sit here and accuse me of being biased or looking back and going, Dave, you're so biased, because I've said it the same about Kulusevski, who I'm a really big fan of. Look, you got to give him credit, right? It does take movement. It does take foresight to be in the right place at the right time. You score 2 goals at the end of the day. It's the name of the game for these 4 players. You contribute. You scored 2 goals. I think, in fairness, you got to probably give him the 8. However, I fully agree, and I'm fully going to keep pointing this out. What does he contribute outside of that? Absolutely nothing. And that's where fans really become frustrated, because when he doesn't get these opportunities, he becomes largely irrelevant. But when he does take these opportunities, it covers up how largely irrelevant he actually is. So it's becoming a real sort of frustration for me. And I think, the longer he relies on tap-ins, I don't think it's good for him. I don't think he'll last at Tottenham doing that. Eventually, especially if we do change hands and bring in another manager, they're going to ask a lot more of him than just tap-ins. So for me, I think it's something he really needs to look and you realize and go and develop his game. But look, I think you've got to give him an 8, but I think you're right. Outside of the 2 goals, he done absolutely nothing, contributed absolutely fuck all.
I mean, I'm not going to give him a super low rating or anything. It's just, for me, he's nowhere close to being man of the match, from that performance. That's just the way I feel about it. I don't think, though, like, if you want to give higher player ratings, I don't blame you if you want to give him something around an 8. It's just, he's not going to get the highest rating from me. Matisse Tell, though, I'll be honest, 6.4 kind of seems pretty accurate, to what he had. It's just, I think he played better against Man United personally. I think against Man United, he at least didn't turn over the ball nearly as much, because I felt like against Man United, he actually was able to hold on to it, did have some okay sort of movement, decent hold-up play to bring others into play, played some nice 1-2s with people. This game, he struggled to hold on to the ball. He really did. He struggled to hold it up. His movement, I think, he didn't really make himself available in any good positions either. I can't recall any moments when Tell was like clean through or anything like that. So 6.4, Dave, I think is actually kind of accurate, because it was a pretty average, nothing kind of performance for Matisse Tell. I hate to put it in those kind of terms, but I think that's accurate.
I'd minus the 6. I think as a 4 is quite frankly fair. Look, he didn't touch the ball, and any time it did come into him, before he just gave it away. He's just absolutely irrelevant the whole game. He didn't offer absolutely anything whatsoever. And I'm not sitting here going in on Tell before anyone sits here and moans and says I am. I'm just blatantly saying what I've seen. I said when we signed the guy, huge talent for the future. He could develop into the guy that we need, but he's not the guy we need right now. And, imagine if he was on it. We could have put 6 or 7 by Ipswich, could have glossed it up. So for me, I think very piss poor on the day. I don't think he's a bad player. I think, like, against Man United, against Villa, for instance, there's things I've seen him do that I didn't see him do against Ipswich, where he was taking the ball, playing others in, spinning in behind and stuff. I just think very static in this game for large periods. So I think a 4. I don't think he done anything to contribute to the game whatsoever.
And then to Sonny, he was actually my man of the match, to be honest, just because I think in that first half, again, we were under that pressure. We were under the cosh. And I think that first goal that we created was pretty much our only chance, up until that point. And we took it so well. And I think Sonny did so well to get us that little edge there. And I think it actually killed a bit of the belief inside Ipswich, because, they were threatening us. They were all over us. You wonder if they were like sniffing something out. They might feel like, they could get something from this. Sonny kind of sucker punches them with that move there to play Johnson. And I just think that was, kind of the start of, Ipswich starting to crumble. Then he, sets up another chance for Johnson, to make it 2 goals. I think, Sonny's performance in the first half alone was almost worth, personally, a man of the match, because I just think he really carried us from the get-go. And I think was one of the more positive players in general from that first half, because a lot of people struggled in the first 10 to 15. I can't really say that he did. And I think he actually carried us out of that tough little period there, like a leader should, like a captain should in many ways, as by example and, by his own leadership qualities. But I think in the second half, I think other people stepped up, other people kind of came to his level. But, I don't know if we win that game if it wasn't for Sonny's quality in that first half. So personally, he was kind of my man of the match for that reason. So I'd give him an 8.3, 8.5, kind of, something for Sonny, something around that range for me.
Yeah, sort of in agreement, Jack. I thought Son was absolutely brilliant, to be quite frank. I thought, when we needed a guy to show a little bit of quality, he done it. And thank God he did, because if he didn't, Tell and Johnson definitely weren't going to provide it. So, for me, I think you're absolutely spot on. What I loved about is he looked like getting back to the old Sonny. And I think this is one, getting the ball to his son's feet deep on the halfway line is not where you get the best out of Son. Putting the ball in behind for him to run onto and use that devastating play, pace of his, then to run at people once he's deeper up the pitch is where he's most devastating. And we got him back to that. We got him back to what he's good at. We put the ball in over there a couple of times down that left-hand side in the first half, and ultimately, because of him, he put us 2-0 up. Sonny did with his brilliant play, even for the pass for Johnson's second goal. Weeks gone by, I've seen him shoot them and cannon them off the guy straight in front of him. He didn't show any selfishness, composure in the moment, and laid it across for Johnson to be able to bury home. So for me, without Son, we wouldn't have won that game yesterday. We wouldn't have took it away from them or relieved ourselves from that early pressure. So for me, I think I agree with you, Jack, in terms of man of the match. I thought he was absolutely brilliant yesterday. And look, I think, we can sit here and moan about him in the second half. He wasn't as involved. Reality is the guy's 33 going on to 34 years of age. That's what we have a bench for, to worry about the second half later on in the games. You know what I mean? So for me, I'll definitely go with you on that one, Jack.
And we're going to start wrapping things up here. Thank you so much for all the support for this stream, everybody. But this is only one of the streams today. We have 2 more to go, and the other one's going to be over on BigUp. We're going to be doing a video highlight breakdown. Dark Sun G here saying, with Vuskovic playing well in Belgium, and if we plan to use him in the first team right away, if we buy center back, do we need to loan out Radu in the 2026 January window? There's so many talented center backs coming through this team right now, Dark Sunji. I do worry about Radu Dragusin, right? How much patience can you really have for someone like him who struggles in a few areas that are pretty important to the system, in possession in particular. And then I even think defensively, Kevin Donzo has already shown to probably be a bit more resolute and more consistent than Radu Dragusin is, even defensively, and maybe doesn't require as much protection around him. So, Dave, I mean, Vuskovic, I think is going to probably come into this team, and he would put pressure on Radu Dragusin. Still have Ashley Phillips developing, still have Alfie Dorrington developing. I think there's a couple of good ones coming through the academy still that are very, very talented as well. So Radu Dragusin doesn't really have a whole lot of time.
Do you know what? I'm not convinced, though, that Vuskovic is going to be a centre-back at Tottenham. When you look at him, the amount of goals he's scoring, he can play. He can score goals from outside the box. He's good with his feet. I wouldn't be surprised to see him come in here as and be pushed in towards a number 6 role or into a midfield role, to be quite frank. I don't think Vuskovic position is just limited to centre-back, to be quite frank. Look, let's wait and see what happens. But also, I think what Radu Dragusin literally depends on what happens to Romero this summer. If Romero stays, Radu Dragusin may instruct his agent. He's like, look, you've been begging to sell me anyway, so go and do your job. You know what I mean? That's what I would do if I'm Radu Dragusin. If Romero goes, then Tottenham will hold on to Radu Dragusin, even if he wants to leave. So I literally think it really depends on Romero on whether he's here next season or whether he's at Real Madrid.
That's pretty apt. Earlier, Matt Drayton saying we'll only know Tell's true potential when he plays in his position, left wing. He's not.
Yeah.
Matt, that's not totally true, man. He's played a lot of both. He's actually a bit of both. He plays as a left wing and as a striker. And even when he came on for Bayern Munich, he would come on as a second striker to sort of play next to Harry Kane, as kind of a guy to play off of him. He's played both positions actually quite often. And I even think his movement in the Man United game suggested that he is actually comfortable, rotating, and moving in those positions. It's just, I think, against Ipswich, he just unfortunately didn't have a good game. And
Do you know what, for me, Jack? From what I've seen of Tell, and this is just my personal opinion, I do think he is a player that operates better out wide. And the reason why I say that is, from some of the highlight reels and from what I have watched, I think, that's where he tends to have a lot of his impact, or I think that's where you tend to get the best out of him. Don't get me wrong, I agree with you. I'm not sitting here saying he can't play striker, but I'm not sure it is his natural position going forward. I think going forward later on in his career, I think if eventually you will see him be developed out wide. I think what you're seeing now through the middle is managers trying to resort back to the traditional striker, big hold up play, etc., etc. And I do think Tell will eventually be sort of, out wide. But this is a huge problem at Tottenham for me. We tried to pinhole Son as a striker. Werner, I'm sorry, he's not a left winger. He's always been a striker in my eyes. All of a sudden, the last few years, he's this amazing left winger. I'm sick of it at Tottenham, and I was only saying this on Stateside Footy. We're one of the only clubs in Premier League where you consistently see players being played out of their best position. I'm absolutely fed up with it at this point. And that's one thing that's got to stop. I've been saying it since we've done it with Eric Dyer, moving from centre midfield to centre back. Stop repurposing players. Go after specialists in them positions. And do you know what, Jack? I think you'll find we'll actually get more output of what we're expecting from players in these positions if we go by players that are natural to these positions.
Totally. Please, everybody, follow us right over. I think we're going to go live pretty much straight away. So join us over for the next stream over on BigUp video highlight breakdown. I think if you joined us before for it, I think you definitely.
No, you don't do it justice, Jack. It's not a video highlight breakdown. Well, it is.
But yeah, I don't know. What do you call it, Dave?
BigUp have
I've been talking for the past 2 weeks too often. So
no, BigUp have picked up all the big clips from the games in terms of Ipswich chances, Tottenham chances. And what we're going to do is, like Monday Night Style Football or Sky Sports or BT do, a lot of these TV companies, we're able to sit there, go through these, break them down, point things out and stuff like that. So it's more of a tactical breakdown of the game, of the clips and maybe where things went wrong or where things went right and stuff like that. And I think a lot of you guys will enjoy it. A lot of you guys know your tactics. So please come over, join us over there, have your say on it. And then if you stay around after that for 20 minutes on the watch along, you will put yourself within a chance to be able to win €500 through the BigUp network. And how that works is anyone that's in there for a watch along, I think between Liverpool and Man City today, for more than 20 minutes and interacts in the comments, etc., etc. And you also have to be a member of one of the communities. The platform will take them people, put them in a pool, and then there will be a chance of you winning 500 quid. So make sure you get on that today, guys, as well. But we're going to go over there now because we are pushed for time, and we're going to get through it. See you there.
Back-to-back streams and the chance to win 500 bucks. So we'll see you very, very shortly, everybody. Come on, you Spurs. Thanks for joining us for this one. Thanks for all the support over here. Appreciate you guys.